My wife cheated and lost. I'm going to preface this by saying that something occurred 3 years ago. This is not a disposable account, although aliases will be utilized. Let's begin with the plot of this narrative. I, 27 male, grew up, like most men, believing that the one is out there. That if you play your cards correctly, your soulmate will emerge out of nowhere and you'll ride off into the sunset. I met a lady when I was 19 years old. Bree, as we'll name her. While I was in the service, I met Bree via common friends. Bree was adorable, eccentric, and seemed to be an all-around nice girl. Sam, her buddy, felt it would be a fantastic idea to bring us together as a pair. I'm not sure what her motivations were, but I liked her and she liked me. Bree was visiting Sam for a few days, and I had just returned from leave in my home state, so the encounter was unavoidable. We all ate lunch together. Myself, Bree, Sam, and Sam's husband, whom we'll call Jim. This event was nothing out of the ordinary, but once Bree returned home, she messaged me on Facebook and we hit it off. After about 3 weeks of communicating with Bree, she asked me an unusual question. What would you do if I were pregnant? Before I get to my solution, let's perform some arithmetic. She was in her partying years and slept a lot. I discovered this much later in the relationship. She had a boyfriend a month before we met. I was adopted, so adopting a child felt like a no-brainer. My response was what seemed to be the correct thing. I'll adore that kid like it's my own. As it turned out, she was experiencing a number of pregnancy symptoms. She took the test a week later and got a positive result. I stuck to my promise. I'll look after this youngster. There was a 3-month gap between this discovery and her decision to travel out to see me. During this time, she was highly erratic, seeking to persuade who she believed was the father to commit and help her care for the child. He didn't move 1 inch. Instead, she selected me. Yes, I see why remaining with her was a horrible decision now. I was naive, in love, and certain that she was the one and that she'd change her mind eventually. I married her so that the army would pay for her birth, and the rest, as they say, is history. But we all know it wasn't the case. The second year. 2 years in, I noticed something odd. Some man, let's call him Ron, was loving every post she made and commenting on every picture of her kid. This looked strange. I had left the military and was working in security at this time in our marriage. My lizard brain linked the links one night while working, and the gut sensation followed. Now, I'm not one to act based just on suspicion, I want evidence. I'd get off work at 4 a.m. since I was working at a nightclub that night. She'll be sound sleeping. Every night before bed, she leaves her laptop on the living room sofa downstairs. The strategy is coming together. When I arrive home, I go straight to the sofa. The laptop is present. I open it and try 2 password guesses. It's our daughter's birth year. I visit her Facebook page. I browse through the messages. There you have it. 6 months of talking with a man called Ron. Some of the dialogue is flirtatious. Some of it is nonsense about how worthless I am and how much less of a guy I am. The hardest thing was learning that this person is who she believes is the biological father and that she is attempting to enlist his help. I scroll and scroll and scroll till I can't take it any longer. I grab the laptop, carry it upstairs, and place it in front of her, the screen flashing in her face. As she gradually awakens, I remark, "We'll speak about this in the morning," and head back downstairs. She usually gets up at 7 a.m., but she didn't get out of bed until 9 a.m. They were probably expecting I'd fall asleep on the sofa. She begins by claiming that it was only friendly conversation and not technically cheating. I called and informed her that if she did this again, I was leaving. Now I said if, but I knew better. When would be the correct answer? This is when I put my strategy into action. I dropped out of college to pursue a career in my industry, and I made certain that everything opened under credit was in her name. I started by saying that my hometown had a superior economy and that we'd be better off there. It took 2 years of persuasion, but it was successful. Nothing was in my name, and we were planning a trip to my hometown in 6 months. We arrived in May, and I sent her home to visit the following month. I knew what she was going to do and who she was going to do it with. The day before we went, we met a man via Sam, and I realized right away that she was interested in him. She began behaving strangely again 3 weeks after returning from her visit. Other people taking precedence over me, putting things off, and growing aloof. Now that I'd spent 2 years arranging the dominoes, I simply let her knock them down. I made certain that I was unemployed, had nothing to my name, and was at home, where I could rely on relatives. I coerced her into saying she had cheated, and the dominoes began to fall. I stopped any cash from being transferred to the account and depleted it in order to petition for divorce. She couldn't take half since I didn't have anything. I didn't have a job, so what kind of lifestyle did we have that would necessitate paying her alimony? Everything was in her name, so even though I was financially responsible for some of those payments, the divorce was lengthy enough to ruin her credit. I gave her everything and made many sacrifices to raise her kid, but in the end, she suffered the most. In my profession, I am now incredibly successful and regarded. I'm not interested in marriage, but there are plenty of women in my life. Life is wonderful. I'm still in touch with the daughter, and Bree often flirts with me in an attempt to win me back. I'm the child's sole father, and I have no plans to become an ex-father. Even while it is emotionally appealing to be with the child more, I know better and have other possibilities. Story 2. The pain just seems like too much. I've been 20 months since the first D-Day, when I discovered my wife's affair with a former coworker. At the time, it had been going on for 6 months. She had no guilt and told me she didn't know what to do since she was in love with someone else. She agreed to no contact, but only half-heartedly, and continued to see/text/ etc. him while lying about it the whole time. I was determined to save my marriage because I had always loved her, she was my closest friend, we had children, and we had a beautiful life together. The following several months were the worst of my life, with no idea what to do and no sign of remorse from her. We continued to pretend that everything were normal for the kids, but my world had been flipped upside down. When I discovered she was still talking him after 3 months of lying, I threatened to leave, and she swore to sever all communication. Things proceeded smoothly for a few more months, but she kept in touch through email. At that moment, I informed her I was going to see a lawyer, and she appeared to snap out of it. She changed her phone number, erased her email accounts, and banned him on social media, etc. Things seemed to be going well once again, but I could tell she was mourning yet trying to restore our marriage. Then I found out she met him in a parking lot one day. I was devastated and told her that was the end of it and left. However, when I thought about informing my small children, I broke down and decided to give her one more chance. After 4 strikes. That was a year ago, and things have been fantastic since then. I now have the marriage I've always desired. Our dynamic has shifted dramatically. I removed her off the pedestal and began working on myself. I'm well versed in the idea of limerence affair fog, and she filled the description. She informed me about a month after the previous D-Day that it was all done and that I rescued her from a black hole, the clouds parted, and she came back to life. She wants nothing more than for us to have a wonderful life together and for our marriage to be the greatest it can be. I have faith in her. My issue is that this completely ruined me. I'm not pleased, despite the fact that our relationship has been on the mend for almost a year. I keep replaying every lie she told me and can't seem to get over it. I still haven't forgiven her for it, and I'm not sure I ever will. We have a wonderful life together, and I continue to love her, but the agony of her acts haunts me every day. It's a combination of bitterness, anxiousness, and despair. My question to everyone here is, do I remain and give these wounds time to heal? Will I ever be able to be happy with her again? I understand that this is all subjective, and that if I want to go on with her, I need to compartmentalize it and choose to forgive, but it feels impossible right now. It's a difficult issue since she's doing all she can to make me happy and has expressed immense sorrow and remorse. But it took over a year after D-Day for her to reach that point. But I can sense it from her now. In some ways, this could be portrayed as a successful reconciliation story, but the pain of it all may be too much to bear. Update: she's doing all she can, and there's nothing further I can do for her. Her confusion stems from the fact that she has done everything and I am still not mending, despite the fact that I am 500% better than I was at the start. But she can't go back in time. I am quite OCD about most things, and I tend to overthink everything. Someone else, I believe, would recover from this better than I would. However, you are correct in that no one can comprehend this unless they are immersed in it. And every situation is unique. She is fully aware of where I am and is at a loss for what to do. She has assisted me in every way imaginable, but my mind won't let go. You make an excellent point about going all in or going all out. That is something I need to improve on. It's if you're in the center. Since then, we've both been in counseling. The therapist constantly assuring me that I am the only one who knows my own limit. I said successful in the sense that everything is better than it was before. Everything, the conversation, the everything. Everything except, of course, my mental condition.